Hi everyone. So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about persuasive writing and ways that you can persuade your reader to do something with the writing that you're creating. So one of the things that we want to think about when we're doing any kind of writing is to start with a hook. You want to bring the reader into the writing. You want to start with some kind of statement that's either shocking or interesting or maybe a question. But I will tell you that as you get to be a more sophisticated writer, questioning the reader is not always the best strategy. Sometimes it's better to start with a statement. That is more powerful in your writing, and it really can pull the reader in more effectively. You also want to make sure that when you're writing persuasively that you pick a side and that your claim clearly shows that. You want to support your thesis or your claim with reasons and evidence. And while you're writing, you also want to think about the other side of your argument and acknowledging that other side, but then also undercutting that argument by offering a counter argument, saying, while I agree with certain things that you're saying, I disagree about these other things. And then summarizing your ideas and ending with a call to action, asking your reader to do something with the information that you've given them. So that's kind of a quick summary of all of the tools that we are going to unpack today to help you to write really well and effectively in a persuasive writing, which is what you're going to produce this week. So the first thing you want to think about is your hook. This could be an interesting fact about your topic. It might also be a personal anecdote or story. So you could think about that. That's something that you could bring in a personal element, a personal touch to your writing. It could be a statistic. Sometimes those numbers, those data points can be really influential in changing people's points of view or their perspective on something. You might also think about a quote from a professional in the field, whatever topic that you're interested in. There might be somebody out there who has some really great advice or information, and you could quote them as the start of your writing. Or anything else, like a shocking statement or some other kind of strong thought that could get the reader ready to listen to your argument and your point of view. So if we look at this example here, if I'm going to write about perhaps wearing a mask, because that's something that's very current in our news and our lives right now, I could start with this hook from professionals in the field. According to the CDC, everyone should wear a mask to cover their nose and mouth when they are in public to prevent the spread of COVID-19. So notice how I'm using that information that professionals are sharing to try to already give a push to people to do something with this information. Now, I want to pick a side and I want to have a very clear claim that shows my side. So think about why you feel the way you do about the topic, and then you want to be as precise as possible and move that to the end of your introduction. So here's an example. People should wear masks when they go to the store because it protects others, will help flatten the curve, and will end the pandemic sooner with fewer infections. Notice how I'm giving reasons in my claim. Now, sometimes when we make a claim, we don't necessarily give every single reason. But if I was going to write a 5-paragraph essay, and hold up, I'm not asking you to do that this week. But if I was going to do that, I've just set up my body paragraphs. And so now I'm ready to dig into that research or information more fully and to give more examples about those things. And I've already kind of set up the structure. Now you want to think about putting all of these things together. Now, of course, in between these two sentences, you could add more information, but I just put them together here to kind of see how they flow into one another. So I have a hook and I have a thesis. If I was only going to write one paragraph, then maybe that's all I have at the start of my writing. But if I'm going to write a multi-paragraph piece of writing, I might expand this out and make it into like a true introductory paragraph. So here's what I have with just the basic form. According to the CDC, everyone should wear a mask to cover their nose and mouth when they're in public to prevent the spread of COVID-19. People should wear masks when they go to the store because it protects others, will help flatten the curve, and will end the pandemic sooner with fewer infections. Now, you want to support that thesis with reasons and with evidence. You want to find good, supportive, whether it's statistics or data, or it could just be, again, anecdotes, personal stories, but examples that are really compelling, that will really help to sway the reader to your side. So here's a great example of some places that you can get evidence. So if I'm going to write about COVID-19, I could look at countries that have successfully used masks to stop the spread of the virus. I could look at statements from top doctors, statistics, maybe even graphics, and bring in a graphic element to my text. This is where research can be used. So if you want to pull in sources and get some other ideas, as long as you give credit to where you found your proof, you can pull in support from a lot of different places. So here's an example of some support. The United States Surgeon General Jerome Davis recommends that everyone who is out in public wear a mask to protect others against the spread of COVID-19. Dr. Rachel Levine, the PA Secretary of Health, makes the same recommendation, but she adds, since the face masks assist with protecting the spread, it makes sense that it will assist with flattening the curve. Finally, both medical experts state that when face masks are worn, the number of infections go down, which will reduce the number of new infections. So I've pulled from two different sources, but then I've also explained how they overlap in terms to kind of make a more compelling argument so that I can encourage my reader to do something. Okay? Now I want to acknowledge the other side as well, because there certainly is an argument that's the opposite of mine. And so we want to make sure we think about that and that we explain that other point of view, but we don't want to prove their point. Okay, so this is where it gets tricky, because it's very easy here when you offer the other side's argument and show where they're coming from to do it too well, and then you undercut your own argument. And that's not the goal. Okay, so you want to make sure that you give some information. Then we're also going to counter it. We're going to say, but I don't think they're right, and here's why. Okay, so here are some examples of acknowledging the other side. Many think we should not wear masks because we are taking them away from healthcare professionals. However, there are multiple ways to make a mask from materials laying around your house. Notice how I've acknowledged the other side, but I've also undercut their argument. I've said, they're right. Medical professionals do need masks, but you could make your own. Okay? Or some people argue masks do not protect the wearer, only the people who come in contact with the wearer. However, if everyone wore a mask, then everyone would be protected. Okay, so again, offering that other point of view, but undercutting it slightly by saying, but that's not true, and here's why. Okay, notice how that's subtle. I never come right out and say, that's not true. I just offer their perspective and then give some more information saying why that's not exactly the point of view that I'm sharing. Then you want to summarize. You want to conclude and sum up your thoughts. Okay, make sure you're not adding new information into this conclusion. And again, if I'm writing one paragraph, my conclusion might be one sentence. If I'm writing a multi-paragraph piece, it might be more than one. But the idea is to summarize and to not bring up something new that you haven't said before. Okay, so you're really just dressing up your claim in a new outfit. You're zhuzhing it up and making it a little bit different. In conclusion, notice my transition. In conclusion, when the people wear face masks in public, they are doing their part to eradicate COVID-19 by protecting other people, flattening the curve, and decreasing the number of new infections. So the last thing that you want to do in persuasive writing that we don't do, for instance, in a literary essay, is we want to give the reader an opportunity to join us in whatever it is we're asking them to do, okay? It might be, in my example, that I want them to educate other people, so spread the word about the need to wear masks. It could be that I'm urging them to write to someone like a local representative to make a law or some kind of ordinance that requires masks. Maybe I'm encouraging them to put a mask on themselves, or I'm encouraging them to talk to their family members about having masks available. Okay? So anything that I do that offers an opportunity for the reader to act is a call to action. So if I put all of this together, and you can see I've divided it up into 2 paragraphs, this is the outcome. This is all of those pieces put together. According to the CDC, everyone should wear a mask to cover their nose and mouth when they are in public to prevent the spread of COVID-19. People should wear masks when they go to the store because it protects others, will help flatten the curve, and will end the pandemic sooner with fewer infections. The United States Surgeon General Jerome Davis recommends that everyone who is out in public wear a mask to protect others against the spread of COVID-19. Dr. Rachel Levine, the PA Secretary of Health, makes the same recommendation. Still, she adds, since the face masks assist with protecting the spread, it makes sense that it will help flatten the curve. Finally, both medical experts state that when face masks are worn, the number of infections go down, which will reduce the number of new infections. Many think we should not wear masks because we are taking them away from healthcare professionals. However, there are multiple ways to make a mask from materials lying around your house. In conclusion, when people wear face masks in public, they're doing their part to eradicate COVID-19. They're protecting other people, flattening the curve, and decreasing the number of new infections. Make sure you and your family all have masks to wear. So notice how all of that comes together, and here, as I said, I have a 2-paragraph sample, but you could structure this a lot of different ways. So this week, what I'm asking you to do is to think about our story, The Fun They Had. And I want you to craft a persuasive response to this prompt. How do you feel about a system of education where the students learn only by computer? What do you think the advantages and disadvantages of such a system would be for middle school students? So I'm asking you to set a timer for 30 minutes and to craft a persuasive writing about this topic. Now, you can use your own personal experiences. Remember, the fancy Latin word for that is anecdote, right? So you can fill your story with your own experience. You could do some research and bring in some statistics if you like. And you certainly can use details from the story, The Fun They Had. All of that could be evidence to support your point of view. I'm asking you to create at least 1 paragraph. And I've given you a framework and some examples in this slideshow to help you to craft that. But if you'd like to expand it out, you are welcome to. I'm going to ask you to cap that at no more than 3 paragraphs, just so that we can have a clear sense of where the writing is going. I think sometimes if we get too lengthy, we can get involved in going off into tangents and the writing kind of takes over. So to keep it clear, we're thinking about 1 to 3 paragraphs. Set a timer and see how far you can get. And I look forward to reading your writing. If you're stuck at any point or you have questions, reach out to me, jump into my office hours. I'm here to help. Have a great week, guys.